time, I want to welcome you to the 85th Annual Conference, St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union. Let us all stand as we now have our national anthem by Mutangu Ambia Kelly.
O land of beauty, our country, where peace abounds, thy children stand free. On the strength of will and love, with God in all our struggles, Saint Kitts and Nevis, a nation bound together with a common destiny. As stalwarts we stand for justice and liberty, with wisdom and truth. We will serve and honor thee. No sword nor spear can conquer, for God will sure defend. His blessing shall forever to posterity extend.
Thank you, Ms. Kelly. At this time, we will be standing for invocation by Pastor Reverend Joseph.
Father God, we want to thank you for this day, the day that you have made. And as the psalmist has said, we ought to rejoice. We know that we are an awesome God, God of mercy, a God of compassion, God of love. Say thank you, Lord, for all that you have done for us. We have come to this 85th Trade Union Conference as a way of coming together as executives and members of an organization for specific purposes to achieve great things for the city, raising the standard of living for members. Father, as we go, we ask that you give us guidance and direction, which we need for successful outcome. We pray that your Holy Spirit will give us the strength to continue the path of development for your people, and hence the development of the nation. Father, we ask your blessings upon this conference this morning, so that whatever is done here will be done to your honor and to your glory. Father, we ask you give also bless the organizers of this conference, so as to let others know that there is value in coming together to achieve the goals and objectives set by the union by the Union. Saying goes, united we stand, divided we fall. So I say to you, stand firm on any decision you take for your membership. The scripture says, stand firm, the belt of truth tied around your waist, so that members can benefit from the rules you have set. All these verses we ask in your Son's name, Jesus Christ our Lord.
Thanks, President Wade. You may be seated at this time. Once again, I want to welcome you to our 85th annual conference of the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union under the theme Empowering Workers, Strategies for Success 2025 and beyond. At this point, I would like to acknowledge Ambassador David Riviero, UN Ambassador. Also want to acknowledge our President, Mr. Sidney Bridgewater. Also want to acknowledge the President of Mr. Jenny Mills, the Acting Labor Commissioner, executive members and other invited members. Also, I want to acknowledge the presence of Dr. Sharon Osborne and Reverend Ed Mead. All other invited guests, welcome again. Good morning. At this point, we would like to go straight into the meat of the program, and at this point, I would like to call on our President to give his address, brief remark of the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union, Mr. Sidney Bridgewater.
Pleasant, God bless morning to all really is. Join me virtually via this meeting, and I want to extend a warm welcome. Allow me to acknowledge the presence of this Reverend Joseph Edmund, our guest speaker, guest speaker, my brother and friend, as well as the scheduled health and wellness representative, Dr. Osborne. Your presence enriches the city. We are deeply honored to have you. Before I go further into my remarks, I humbly ask all of you to stand with me as we observe a minute of silence for the stalwarts of our union and the labor movement who have sadly departed. I call to mind Comrade Roosevelt Jabba Trotman, who recently passed away. My heartfelt condolences go out to his mother, his brother, Paul Pablo Trotman, and the Kelly family of Greenland. In remembrance of Jabba, I also extend condolences to the Brotherhood of the Blackbones Youth and Sports Club, along with the loved ones of all stalwarts noted in our conference booklet. May the souls of the dearly departed rest in peace and rise in glory. Starting now. Thank you. Today marks a momentous occasion as we gather for the 85th annual conference of the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union, an organization totally founded in 1932 and officially recognized in 1940. This conference is not only a reflection of our rich history, but a bold statement of our continued commitment to the rights, dignity, and empowerment of workers. The theme for this year's conference, Empowering Workers, Strategies for Success in 2025 and Beyond. It's a clarion call for all of us to prepare for the future while building on the foundation laid by our forefathers, our founders, were visionaries who fought tirelessly for a labor movement that would stand as a beacon of hope for the common man, resisting the harsh and oppressive rules of colonial masters. Their resilience, their determination, and their unwavering belief in justice birthed a movement that has endured for over 8 decades, championing the rights of workers and ensuring that fairness, equality, and dignity are not mere aspirations, but realities. Our country's first national hero, Comrade Robert L. Bratcher, a former Union president, rose from the ranks of this movement to lead our people as premier. His legacy is a powerful reminder that the labor movement is not just about fighting for better wages or working conditions. It is about transforming societies. It is about ensuring workers, who are the backbone of our economy, have the power, the voice, and the opportunities to succeed. As we look forward to 2025 and beyond, our tasks remain clear: to ensure that the rights of the workers are not just protected by strengthening as we look forward to 2025 and beyond. Our task remains clear, not to ensure that the rights of the workers are not just protected by strengthening the COVID-19 pandemic dealt a devastating blow to our workers globally, and St. Kitts and Nevis were not spared. Workers face unmanageable hardship, job losses, reduced hours, and in some cases, exploitative practices that preyed on their vulnerability. The handling of the crisis, unfortunately, saw restrictive policies and the infamous jab for jobs mandate, which left many workers, including some of our union members, suffocated under the weight of unemployment and financial distress. But in 2022, with the reopening of the country, there was a restoration of hope. The opening of the ANC portal, along with the lifting of the restriction, breathed a new life into our economy and our workforce. Yet, there remains much to be done. Yet, there remains much to be done. The drafted National Labor Code, which has been stagnant for years, with work having started 2013 or thereabout, must be finalized. This code will be the instrument that movement in national development. I want to go over that again, please. This code will be the instrument that enshrines the right of workers and cement the role of the labor movement in national development. Mr. Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Jew, I hereby call on you to commission the National Tripartite Committee to complete the drafted National Labor Code. The St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union stands ready, so, as always, to work with the government, the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, and the Labor Department to bring this crucial legislation to life. Our union expresses our deepest gratitude to the International Labour Organization, the ILO, for their unwavering support and resources that have helped us in this endeavor, in providing support and input. The mission has begun in 2013, must now be completed. Empowering workers means more than just fighting for fair wages. It means ensuring that the structures and the policies are in place to support their growth and development. The National Minimum Wage Advisory Committee, which was established by the labor movement in the 1990s, is a testament to the power of collective action. The work of this committee has led to laws that have positively impacted the economy and improved the lives of countless workers. As we move forward, we must ensure that the minimum wage continues to be a tool for social justice and economic equity. In closing, let us remember that our fight is far from over. The strategies we adopt today will determine the success of works in 2025 and beyond. Our social dialogues partners must stand united in this mission. I give thanks to Almighty God for His continued guidance and protection. We have come this far by faith, and it is with that same faith that we will continue to fight for justice, equality, and the empowerment of every worker in the nation. Thank you for listening.
I want to thank President Bidwacho for those strong words of encouragement and continued effort on behalf, to show continued effort on behalf of the union as to where we are going as a people and as a country. Also, at this time, I would like to acknowledge the presence of our Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Jew, and First Lady, Mrs. Jew. Welcome. Up next, we would have at this point we would have some brief remarks from our Minister of Employment and Labor, Acting Commissioner, Labor Commissioner, Mr. Genevieve Mills. Welcome, Mr. Mills.
Thank you very much, Mr. Francis. Please allow me to adopt protocol so ably established. This morning I bring greetings on behalf of the Ministry of Employment and Labor, the Minister, Ms. Honorable Marsha Henderson, and our Permanent Secretary, Denise Daniel, and as well on behalf of the government, by extension, on behalf of the Ministry of Employment and Labor, it is an honor to bring greetings and brief remarks at this significant event, the 85th Annual Workers' Conference. The chosen theme, Empowering Workers, Strategies for Success in 2025 and beyond, reflects a crucial focus as we navigate the ever-changing landscape of work. At the Ministry, we are committed not only to protecting and advancing the rights of workers, but also to fostering a culture of productivity and performance excellence. Providing frequent feedback on performance is essential to the commitment. By ensuring that workers are aware of their strengths, areas for improvement, and progress, we empower them to take charge of their professional development, ultimately enhancing productivity across all sectors. Moreover, our dedication to promoting safe and healthy work environments is a key priority. Protecting the physical and mental well-being of workers is not just a legal obligation, but a moral one. A safe and productive workplace is directly linked to higher productivity, as employees who feel valued are secure and more likely to contribute positively to their organizations. As we advance, ensuring that workplaces are both supportive and secure will always be at the forefront of our agenda. At this point in time, I also want to highlight the importance of collective bargaining, a cornerstone of workers' rights. The ability for workers to negotiate their wages, benefit, and working conditions collectively through their unions is fundamental. This collective effort not only safeguards workers' interests, but also promotes productivity by ensuring that workers feel fairly compensated and valued for their contributions. Equally significant are the rights surrounding industrial action, such as strikes, which serve as a vital mechanism for workers to express their grievances and advocate for change when other avenues fail. These actions underscore the power and unity of the workforce, reminding us that workers' voice must be heard, respected, and addressed. When workers feel their concerns are taken seriously, it fosters a culture of trust, collaboration, which can lead to improved productivity. Additionally, as technology continues to reshape industries, we must ensure that workers are equipped with skills and tools to adapt. The ministry is committed to fostering opportunities for upskilling and reskilling, enabling workers to thrive in the face of new challenges brought about by technological advancement. A skilled workforce is not only vital for the individual career growth, but also essential for maintaining competitiveness and productivity in our economy. The government and ministry commend the union for its dedication and continued efforts in creating spaces like this where we can engage in meaningful dialogue and foster collaboration between workers, employers, and stakeholders. Together we build a more resilient and empowered workforce, one that is not only capable, but one that is motivated to excel. As we move forward on a path of sustainability, let us remember that our collective efforts will shape the future of work. Let us remain proactive, united, and unwavering in our commitment to bettering the lives of the workers and enhancing productivity in our sectors. Thank you for the opportunity to address this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Mills, for those real brief remarks. We love it. At this point, the union for many years have seen a number of the old stalwarts and old members who continue to fight for the strength of the union to go on. But also over these years, we have been recruiting young blood, fresh faces. And so, right at this time, I would want to call on one of our youngest member, Mr. Kevion Huggins, to deliver a young presentation as he's calling it. Welcome.
Good morning. Allow me to adopt the protocol that was so ably established. Today, my mission is simple, which is to call all youth to action in joining the St. Kitts and Nevis Trades and Labor Union. Today, we are reaching out to every young worker across the Federation, the ones putting in hours, building careers, and striving to build a future. We know the sacrifices, the hard work, the challenges you face, but let me say this, it's time to demand more. As youths, we are tired of being undervalued, underpaid, and overlooked. Let me make it clear, this is your time, that's for every youth in this federation. We will no longer allow companies to squeeze every drop of energy from us and hand us mere crumbs in return. We are more than just workers. We are the future builders of this federation, and we demand respect, fair pay, and dignity. I am calling on each of you to join the St. Kitts and Nevis Trades and Labor Union today, not tomorrow, not next week. This is more than just joining an organization. This is joining a revolution. A revolution that says every young worker in this federation has the right to be treated fairly, to be valued, and to have a real voice in the workplace. This is our moment to shine and to rise and to say to every employer who try to exploit us, enough is enough. We are not tools to be used and discarded. We are the lifeblood of this nation's workforce, and we will not settle for scraps any longer. So to every young worker in St. Kitts and Nevis, this is our time to unite, It's our time to fight for what rightfully belongs to us. Let's take our destiny into our own hands. Stand together, shoulder to shoulder, arm in arm, and show these companies that when young workers unite, we become an unstoppable force. We will no longer stay silent when opportunities are taken away from us. We won't bow our heads when they try to keep us down. We are the pulse of this nation, and it is time to make our voices be heard. To every young worker, if you've ever felt disrespected, underpaid, or belittled, now it is the time to make changes. The St. Kitts and Nevis Trades and Labor Union is here for you. It protects your rights, it amplifies your voice, and ensures you are never alone in this fight. By joining, you become a part of a family, a movement, a force that challenges the very foundation of injustice in our nation. This is your moment, young workers, to rise, to fight back, to stand up for your future and for every worker who will come after you. Let this not be a moment that passes by. Don't wait for someone else to step up. You are the leader. We are the leader that we've been waiting for. You are the change this nation needs. Join us today in the St. Kitts and Nevis Trades and Labor Union. Together, let's make history. Let's be the generation that transforms the workplace. Let's be the generation that demands respect, equity, and justice for all workers. Young workers, the power is in your hands. Together, we will rise. Together, we will stand. And together, we will win. Join the St. Kitts Nevis and Trades and Labor Union today.
Thank you, Mr. Huggins. See, I tell you, he was coming with a young twist. Very good, Mr. Huggins. Of course, we're with you. The older ones are with you, and joining you as you move. At this point, again, we are going to add a different twist to our session, and it is important, and let me just say, it is very important. We invited a special person here with us today to deliver part one of some interesting sessions that are to be had with our union and union members. So at this point, I would call on Dr. Sharon Osborne to deliver some health and wellness. Relax.
Hi, good morning, everyone. It's such a pleasure to be here. And so my task is always very simple. I have always had one objective when I speak. Mr. Prime Minister, good to see you here. It's always simple, is to make sure my audience learn one thing before they leave here. So my only objective is that you learn something new today. I'm going to give a brief talk about complications of hypertension. And you may wonder why I chose to speak on this matter. Because recently I was called and informed that a friend of mine, someone I know and worked with, was on the medical unit, and this person had suffered a massive stroke. And we know that most of these are complications of high blood pressure. This individual was bedridden. This individual could barely speak, and this individual barely recognized me. And this is very, very common in our community. And we are going to the heart of this issue. This is because of hypertension. Hypertension is known as the silent killer. And there are a few complications I want to point out, because oftentimes, because of lack of knowledge and understanding of this disease, hypertension, we persons go on to have these serious complications that are often life-threatening. And if we roll back the hands of time, and we first take our health into our hands, and we educate ourselves, and we develop a healthier lifestyle, we can prevent some of these complications. So what is hypertension? We know that hypertension simply is when your blood pressure goes up a bit on the normal level. So uncontrolled hypertension can lead to severe complications affecting your lungs, affecting your heart, affecting your blood vessels, affecting your brain, affecting your kidneys. All of your systems and organs are affected by this disease. Anywhere there is a blood vessel, it can be damaged and it can result in resulted in complications of high blood pressure. So high blood pressure is known as a silent killer. Many of our patients, and Dr. Ju would be able to identify this, would have said, well, I don't feel anything, I'm fine. But it's a silent killer. You do not feel anything until the end results or the complications present. So you will say, but doc, I don't feel that my blood pressure is high. You're not going to feel that your blood pressure is high. You would simply then have complications where you start having severe headaches, you start having weakness in a body part, you start having difficulty with your kidneys, and you have the complications as a result of that. So hypertension develops slowly, with complications occurring over years. So these changes are happening slowly over years. And the exact time frame is different in each individual. So people with high blood pressure, as we said, may not feel any symptom. So the only way to know this is when you check your blood pressure. Most persons, how often do you get to check your blood pressure? Very infrequently. If you go to visit your physician once a year, they may check your blood pressure. But you may have your blood pressure going up and you do not recognize that it's a problem. So according to the American Heart Association, most damage from hypertension occurs over time from hypertension that goes undetected and unmanaged. What are the key facts about high blood pressure? So this is data now. An estimated 1.28 billion adults between the age of 30 and 79 worldwide have hypertension. Most of them, 2/3, are living in low and middle income country where our country falls. An estimated 46% of adults with hypertension are unaware that they have this condition. So if we have 100 persons here, 46 of us may not know that we have high blood pressure. Less than half of the adults, 42%, with hypertension are gone undiagnosed and treated. Approximately 1 in 5 individuals, 21% with hypertension, have it under control. So what this study is saying is that most persons with high blood pressure will not have it under control. Hypertension or high blood pressure is the major cause of premature death worldwide. And one of our global tasks is to reduce the prevalence of high blood pressure by 33% from the year 2010 to 2030. So that is the goal, to decrease or reduce the prevalence of high blood pressure. So what would you say is a normal blood pressure? We standard, and most persons know it, 120 to 80. So below that, you want to make sure keep your blood pressure in that zone. Once it starts reaching and going above that zone, you've got different stages or classifications: stage 1, stage 2, stage 3. So you're considered to have high blood pressure once you hit between 130 and 139 over 80 to 89. And anything above those numbers, you know that you have high blood pressure. So what causes high blood pressure? Oftentimes persons have genetic disposition. Okay, so you have family risk. Your grandmother, your mother, your siblings may have high blood pressure. And then there's some other factors that we can control, such as things like physical activity. We need to exercise. During pregnancy, we know that the woman's blood pressure can go up. Individuals with diabetes, obesity is a strong risk factor, or diet rich in sodium, salt, and a lot of these processed foods, and high cholesterol. All these are factors. What are the complications of high blood pressure? We've got heart disease, very important. Most of our individuals that we know who develop heart failure or heart attacks is as a result of uncontrolled blood pressure. That is why this topic is very important. Stroke, where you see individuals present oftentimes with stroke. Kidney disease. We have a high prevalence of kidney disease in the Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis. Vision loss, peripheral arterial disease, You may not know what this is, but this is where the blood vessels are damaged, especially to the lower limbs, and these individuals then lose digits or toes and then have amputation. You hear about things of cognitive impairment. What does that mean? Dementia. You start losing your memory, start not understanding, remembering certain things over time. An aneurysm. What is that? That is where there's a blood vessels that dilate or balloons out, and it can happen anywhere because of weakness, and then that blood vessel can rupture, leading to several different complications. So heart disease or heart attack. We know that a heart attack occurs when the blood vessels that go to the heart, because every organ needs blood vessel, the heart is no exception. So there are blood vessels that take blood and the muscles of the heart. And what happened? Over time, the pressure destroys or injures the blood vessels, leading to scarring. And then what happens? You have fat and plaque deposit. And then the blood vessel narrows. And then this leads to low blood going to the heart. You know that. And then a part of the heart or area. And that is essentially what a heart attack is. So I hope my audience is understanding. So this buildup of plaque and stuff in the blood vessels narrows the blood vessel. Blood doesn't get to the heart, and that is what we call a heart attack. The patient comes with chest pain, difficulty breathing, restlessness, exhaustion when they walk or move. Heart failure, that's another complication, because the heart has to pump against all this resistance. Once you have a blood vessel that narrows, think about it like a pipe and it's blocked. The blood going through there has to be pumped harder just for it to get through. And that's what happens to a heart. And over time, this heart has to work overtime. And the muscle becomes hypertrophic at first, and then when it can't continue to pump, it becomes weakened. And that blood, that heart cannot function to deliver the blood to the different organs that it needs to. And that is what we essentially call heart failure. You'll see this person comes in, their feet are swollen, they're having shortness of breath because their heart isn't pumping enough to deliver the oxygen and all the nutrients that the body needs. Then we talk about stroke. What essentially is a stroke? We know that that happens as a result that a blood vessel becomes blocked off, that goes and takes blood to several areas of the brain. And then what happens? If that blood vessel becomes blocked off, an area that it supplies nutrients and oxygen, that area dies. Every living structure in our body needs oxygen, needs nutrients to survive. And so that person develops a stroke. What happens then? They present with slurred voice. They're unable to speak. They have weakness on a certain part of their body. All right? These are persons who have severe headaches. They're unable to move. And so these are some of the complications. And not only strokes is associated with high blood pressure, there are other factors that can influence one developing a stroke, such as your high cholesterol. A person that smokes, so if we smoke in our community, we need not to smoke. Persons who are physically inactive. Oftentimes, I love to encourage my patients to take a walk. I often say, you don't have to be an athlete. Even if you take 30 or 40 minutes walk in your community, that activity really does help. And so many stroke factors are controllable with lifestyle strategies, like not smoking and increase your physical activity. So we're getting to the root of the problem here, because a lot of times we want to prevent some of these diseases instead of putting strain on our healthcare facility by having these complications. So once we understand what hypertension does, we can help prevent it. So stroke, you see this image here, where there's a blue dot and there's a red dot. That means that area is not getting enough blood. That area is not getting enough oxygen. And that area essentially dies. That tissue dies. And then what? Whatever function that area controls in our body, then that it doesn't work. So you'll see that person come in and they're unable to move their arm, they're unable to move their leg, and they're unable to speak. You see them drooling, you see their mouth or their face twisted. So those are some of the how it would present. So a stroke is an emergency. We all know that. So if you see anyone having any symptoms that may mimic a stroke, you need to call the emergency or 911 immediately. What are some of these signs of a stroke? Severe headache, confusion, numbness or weakness, vision problem, loss of balance, and inability to speak. So I emphasize that. So if we're at home with any family member, any friend, we can always get them the help that they need. Aneurysm, it may sound like a big word, but what happens essentially in that? The blood vessel that should be healthy and it will have the same size throughout, it becomes ballooned out in a section. Okay? And what happens with that section that balloons out? It becomes weaker. And because of the pressure, the force that's going through that blood vessel constantly, that can rupture and break. We've lost many young individuals, functional, active persons in our community because they had an aneurysm. They did not know that, but because of the constant high blood pressure, it destroyed the blood vessels, and these persons ended up with stroke, or some of them would have lost their lives. Kidney disease. We know that kidney disease is very prevalent in our community. It's a complication of diabetes, and after diabetes, hypertension. So what happens? Yet again, everything comes down to the blood vessel. The blood vessels that go to the kidneys and all the micro blood vessels inside the kidneys, they become damaged. And anytime these blood vessels become damaged, blood supply is cut off. There's no oxygen. The cells die. The functioning cells of the kidney, they're called nephrons. If they die, the kidney cannot filter out and get rid of the waste. So these individuals would present, they're bloated. They have that characteristical look of persons with kidney disease. Their limbs are swollen. You realize when you do your blood test that their kidney function tests are abnormal, things like their creatinine, and it is because of long-standing hypertension in many cases, and hypertension that was not controlled. Peripheral arterial disease, that is another complication. We have many patients in our institution, in the hospital, presenting with this disease. They would come and say, "Doc, my feet are hurting me. Doc, I have a toe that looks like it's turning black." And what is that telling us? That the blood supply going down to the feet and to the toes, it is cut off. And once there's not enough blood going to those areas, the tissue dies. And so you'll see the tissue start looking dark and black, and these individuals present. And then when you do something like an ultrasound, you realize that the blood vessels are so narrowed or so damaged. And then this leads to things like limb loss. And many of us would have seen so many amputees in our community. It's a result of things like hypertension and diabetes. So anytime the blood vessels become blocked off, and that is the underlying problem we have as a result of high blood pressure. It damages the blood vessels. There's deposits of plaque, deposit of these fatty tissue in the blood vessels. The blood vessels are narrowed, and it creates havoc no matter where you look in the body. It can also affect the eyes. We have things like hypertension, retinopathy. So the retina of the eyes that helps us to see, that becomes destroyed. And so we see long-term all of these complications that diabetes bring. Cognitive impairment. Realize that you may see your older grandmother. You say, but Granny's not behaving the same. She's kind of talking strange, and she's forgetting everything. Those are forms of dementia, Alzheimer's, and these are complications of long-standing diabetes that is not checked, and hypertension that is not checked and managed. So these are some of the things. They'll start to lose reasoning and judgment. They'll start to forget things, their memory. They had a plan for this morning, and they forgot everything that they wanted to do. Okay, so some of these things can be prevented once we address the underlying problem with this hypertension. Our men would be interested in this, sexual impairment. I see men in the clinic all the time, and they say, "Doc, I have to tell you this, but Johnny boy is not working well," and they're a little bit embarrassed to mention that. But it's important. What happens, just like any other structure or organ, their blood vessels going down to that the sexual organ in male, the penis. And what happens if the blood vessels are damaged? of course, he's not going to get an erection. And then we have things like erectile dysfunction. And sometimes it's very hard to address and very embarrassing for even to the patient to bring up to their doctor. But underlying this is the high blood pressure. Women can also have complications. Their vagina can become very dry as well. And so then she's not interested in having intimacy with her partner. So what organs are commonly damaged by blood pressure? And I'm repeating it so that we can learn. The heart, giving you heart attack, heart failure. The lungs, the limbs, giving you peripheral arterial disease and limb loss. The eyes, leading to blindness and impaired vision. The brain, leading to stroke and death. The kidneys, leading to kidney failure and these individuals having to go on dialysis. And it can affect all reproductive organs in the male and in the female as well. So I often ask my patient, why aren't you taking your blood pressure medication? And I'm sure many of you would have given your doctor some of these excuses or reason. Forgetfulness. Doc, I just don't remember all the time, you know. So I forget to take it. So then we say, get that little packet that says Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, right down to Saturday so that it could remind you that you have to take your blood pressure medication. Doubt about effectiveness. Sometimes patients will say, Doc, I don't believe this thing is going to work, you know. I think I was just going to exercise and eat right. But sometimes diet and exercise is not enough, and you need the support of these antihypertensive or these medication for high blood pressure. Fear of side effects. One of the biggest fear in males is what? The same erectile dysfunction. There are some of these drugs that can cause this. And so a man will say, Doc, I prefer to not take this drug so that I could have an erection. Okay, rising cost of prescription medication. That's another reason. If you can't afford to get your drugs, you're not going to likely buy them, then you won't take them. Lifestyle factors such as diet, smoking, alcohol consumption. Some persons, the doctor would say, you cannot smoke or you cannot drink with this medication. They say, boy, I'm going to stop taking this so I could enjoy myself at this festival. Too many medication, and I must admit that we as physicians, we sometimes are at fault for that, and we've got to be very careful. Sometimes a patient has to take 6 drugs in a day, and it becomes much more cumbersome and complex for the individual, and what they do, they abandon all of it. So if we can narrow the amount of drugs and the frequency in which they have to take these medications, they're much more compliant, because our objective is to ensure that the patients are compliant with their medication and take them. And lack of symptoms. This is an important one. We said earlier that high blood pressure is a silent killer. Doc, I feel fine. Why would I even take anything? Nothing is wrong with me. And then you check their blood pressure and it is elevated. But most of the time you will not feel any symptoms or have any symptoms until you have one of these severe complications like chest pain as a result of a heart attack, headache or weakness on a side of your body as a result of a stroke, because it is considered a silent killer. Most individuals do not check their blood pressure until they go to see their physician, so they will not know that their blood pressures are high. So it's important to get your annual checks as well too. How do we prevent high blood pressure and the complications? We want to prevent those. You've got to eat healthy. We always recommend a diet high in fresh fruits and vegetables. We've got lots of local fruits and vegetables here. Decrease your salt intake. You want to keep a healthy weight. So if you know that you're a little bit overweight or obese, we encourage that you exercise. Along with your dietitian and your physician, you can start a dietary plan. Your physical activity, we have to increase that. If you're a smoker, we want to discourage you from smoking. If you drink alcoholic beverages, we want to limit that as much as possible to social events when you're having a family event. You want to get enough sleep. Oftentimes, we do not get enough sleep. Some of us are busy. We're working long hours. We're working hard. And some of us, we spend a lot of time in front of the TV, the computer, the games, and we go to bed really late. That is not good. And you want to take your medication as prescribed by your physician. If you're not comfortable with a particular drug or side effect that you may have, it's best to have a discussion with your physician and say, Doc, is there any other drug I could take besides this one for X? And it is best to have that dialogue instead of just abandoning the use of your medication. And you want to manage your stress. So what is my takeaway here as I finish up? Hypertension is common but serious, and it can increase your risk for several health complications. It is important to do your regular checkup with your physician and talk to your physician about your blood pressure medication and take them as they recommend. Manage your blood pressure can help also reduce the risk of hypertension-related complications such as heart disease, strokes, kidney disease. And finding treatment that works best for you may reduce any risk of complication from hypertension. So this is the end. So my objective here, have I met it? Is anyone here that did not learn something? You can show your hands. I believe everyone learned something here. So always remember that hypertension is a silent killer, and you will not know that you have high blood pressure until there may be a complication, but you need to follow up with your physician. And if we can avoid some of these complications, we can have a healthy community, a healthy society. Persons will be much more productive, and our work union and workforce would be much better. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Thank you, Dr. Osborne. Of course, there you had it, ladies and gentlemen, especially you men who think that doctors are for the older folks, the younger ones especially. Check your health. Ladies, I know you're accustomed to go doctor, but there you have it, a comprehensive and detailed session on your health and wellness. And for those of you who don't have a doctor, see Dr. Osborne at the end of the session. I'm sure she'll be glad to visit with you or hear from you. Dr. Osborne, if you want, you can also leave your number with us for union members to contact if they so desire. All right? Thank you very much. Give a round of applause. A wonderful presentation. All right, we are stepping into gear at this point, and first of all, I would like to acknowledge the presence of Ambassador Mr. Larry Vaughan. I think, yes, our guest speaker, Mr. Jenkins, Mr. Peter Jenkins, and also, is there someone else? I did it already. Okay. All right, so as we step into gear now, we now ask our political leader, the Honorable Dr. Terence Drew, to deliver remarks from the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. Dr. Drew.
Good morning to all. Happy that you all came out on a Sunday morning. Let me recognize the head table, President of the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union, Sydney, Comrade Sydney, and also Comrade Precious, the General Secretary of the Union. All other executive members who are here with us today. Let me recognize Ambassador David, Ambassador Republic of Cuba to St. Kitts and Nevis, who is always here. Also allow me to recognize the guest speaker, Dr. Osborne. I learned something as well. And to also recognize Reverend Ed Mead for the invocation that was delivered. I want to say very clearly that the union is very, very relevant. Sometimes the numbers do not reflect the critical work that the union does. I remember during the pandemic when workers were asked to choose between a jab or a job, the union stood in and defended workers. As a result of that, we know those who were denied their gratuity, the union worked with the government to ensure that a great number of workers were able to get their gratuity and some sort of justice. Put your hands together for the union. So I'll say the union is sometimes that tool that you have access to, but only when a crisis looms that persons recognize how critically important the union is. So I want to say to the union that your work and significance are extremely important to the continued improvement of the lives of our dear workers and by extension, our people. I want to extend fraternal greetings to our sister, brother organization, however you see it, on this most auspicious occasion where you are celebrating your 85th conference. That is indeed a tremendous achievement. Recognizing that this labor union, the St. Kitts and Nevis Trades and Labor Union, is one of the oldest in the Caribbean, and that the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party is the oldest active political party in the English-speaking Caribbean. In other words, we not just come. We have been here for a very long time. It was the union and the party, and we have to go back to history and set it straight, that brought democratic ideals to St. Kitts and Nevis. It is this union that was formed in 1940, the party which came in 1935, because you could have had political parties before you could have unionized. And so the workers could not form a union because it was illegal in those days. But after some years of agitation from the workers through the political arm of the labor movement, the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla Labour Party then, or the Workers' League as it was called, agitated for workers to unionize. And in 1940, colonialization could not hold us back anymore, and our workers were able to form unions. And from that day onwards, things began to change for the betterment of the workers, because as was said, when workers unite, because the theme is unity is strength. This is since 1940. Anything else you hear after that is not original. This is original. Because workers united since 1940, and even before that, and have fought for the improvement of their work conditions. They fought for the improvement of their living conditions. And today, we are here because of that significant work. History cannot be rewritten. This is the correct history. And so we want to extend, of course, our sincerest sentiments in saying to the union, you have done extremely well. Let me just recap a couple of things, and then I will sit down as to what we were able to do from our end, giving an account of what we have done for the workers in St. Kitts and Nevis. The St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party has one fundamental mission, and look out for our people. Our motto is for the good that we can do. Since the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party took office in 2022, we have put in place a policy where the highest minimum wage is now here in St. Kitts and Nevis. And I heard in the president's presentation, as he spoke about wages, and I think it might have come from the representative from the Labor Department, that just wage is justice for workers. Not only that, we have the highest human development index in the whole of the CARICOM. We were ranked #1. We are higher than Bahamas. We are higher than Barbados. We are higher than Trinidad and Tobago. For the first time, we were #1 in the OECS before, but we came #1 in the whole of the CARICOM in 2023 to 20 because of a number of critical policy measures that we put in place. That is what you are enjoying here in St. Kitts and Nevis. However, we must also admit that there are challenges, and there would always be challenges. But when we are measured by whatever the yardstick is, we have surpassed what is expected or what was expected. And that is because we continue to believe in the direction of the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union. We know that one of the challenges the workers had was the issue of justice with respect to the vaccine. We have set that right. And I listened closely to the president, and he has called on the government again to make sure that the new labor code is implemented. I want to say to the president that that is on our agenda. We had an update from the minister responsible for labor in our last cabinet with respect to the new labor code. Significant work, I can say to you, Mr. President, from a legal perspective is being done. And that is to be brought forward as a framework because, as you said, that work started in 2013. A significant amount of data was there, but no action was taken. And the goal is, of course, to come in that tripartite situation or meeting so that those things can be discussed, fleshed out, agreements reached, and all parties would reach some level of satisfaction. I can say to you that that is actually taking place, and I'm sure the representative from the Labor Department would be able to attest to that. The other matter is the matter of productivity, because we continue to do for workers. But one of the things that one must remember is that workers used to also be called upon to do their part in making sure that a fair day's work for a fair day's wage or fair day's pay. So you should be paid for your work done. And on the other hand, we want to encourage workers to always continue to work more diligently to ensure that they are productive, they are given the time that is expected of them, and we don't want the employer to shortchange the workers. And we must also say to the workers that your responsibility as well is to work hard. Our first national hero, His Excellency Robert Bratcher, said, when he was speaking about independence, that you cannot build an independent country if you don't work hard. It is the bottom line. But at the same time that you work hard, you must also be given what is due unto you. So it is a win-win situation, of course. So I'll just list a number of things that we have done for workers since taking office. One, we have opened up the country so that the economy can take pace again. We have ended the job for jab, and that will never happen under us again. We have expanded healthcare access. We have the most specialists that we have ever had at the hospital in the history of JNF, period. And I want to thank the Republic of Cuba for its significant contribution to that. Because of Cuba, we have at the hospital an endocrinologist. What is that? A doctor who deals with blood sugar and hormonal problems. Never had that before. Because of Cuba and our collaboration, we have 4 internal medicine doctors at the hospital. 4, the highest number in the public area at any given time. We also have, in addition to that, a doctor, as Dr. Osborne was saying in her excellent presentation, and she spoke about stroke. We have a doctor at the hospital who specializes in stroke. We never had that before. We have a fair amount of anesthesiologists at the hospital. Those are the ones who put you to sleep and resuscitate people and put you on the breathing machines. At the hospital, we now have what we call triage medical officers. So when you enter the hospital, the emergency room, you should not be waiting more than 15 minutes before a doctor can take, or a medical staff member can take your blood pressure or blood sugar. As a result of that, we now have the shortest wait time in the whole of the OECS. And I dare say by next year, we would have the shortest wait time in the whole of CARICOM. All this to preserve the health of our people. We have invested significantly at the hospital, the most technologically advanced machines that we have ever had, or we will ever have at the JNF hospital. We have machine to test the brain now. We have a fluoroscopy with a specialized type of X-ray machine. We have the CT scan that is now going to be set up in the next 2 weeks, the most advanced. There are only 4 like that in the whole of the Caribbean. The MRI building is being constructed. We have enough dialysis machines to cover all of our people. And again, we have two nephrologists from the Republic of Cuba. And in addition to that, we also have a urologist that's a specialist in prostate. So our people can now be treated at JNF by a prostate specialist. We have now introduced what you call an endoscopy suite, where we can look down in your throat with a camera and look up to the anal passage with a camera. And we are having, for the first time in St. Kitts and Nevis, the conference for endoscopy here in our country. We'll have bring doctors from all over doing all these tests. And doctors do these conferences to learn from each other and to advance. And then in addition to that, if you go to the hospital, we have a brand new foyer. Have you seen it? It's beautiful. And I want to thank the cable and TDC and all the others who contributed to make sure that we continue. I want to thank the Republic of China, Taiwan, for helping us to stop the leak at the hospital. The hospital was leaking for years. We have stopped it. I want to thank, we now have air-conditioned and medical ward and surgical ward for the first time. We have closed all the doors, blocked all the windows because of climate change. If you go there, you'll see that. Take a visit, move around. And the last thing I will say on the issue is that introduce a children's medical fund. Because a lot of the times the workers, especially the workers who are not rich, and most workers are not rich, your child gets sick and you're up and downtown with a sponsor sheet, hoping you can raise it. You can't ever raise enough money for the type of surgeries. So we have formed a special fund where any child in St. Kitts or Nevis who becomes sick and has to go overseas for complicated surgeries that cost a lot, that fund is doing that. As a matter of fact, we have 2 children right now presently who had cardiac surgery on Tuesday of this week. One is from Nevis and one is from St. Kitts. Had it not been for that, those 2 children would have been dead because they used to die in the past before we had that fund. Parents can't afford it. The surgery costs $100,000. Who is going to pay for it? And so those children are living because of that. And to finally say on that matter, that because of that, in 2023, St. Kitts and Nevis is the only country on earth that did not have a child who died between the ages of 1 to 4. Only country on earth. When it comes to vaccination, I'm talking about the vaccination that children normally get to prevent a lot of diseases. St. Kitts and Nevis is in the top 2 in the world in terms of children having access to vaccine. And we achieved that because after COVID, it went down. We heard measles were coming back around the world. This was coming back, and other diseases were re-emerging because the vaccination that we know took care of all of those old diseases. Because of COVID, the children weren't getting it. So we invested with PAHO in a bus, and the bus went around the country looking for all the children. They found the children, vaccinated them, and that is why our numbers are in the top 2 in the world. Not in the Caribbean, I'm talking the world. And PAHO has related that. So I'm just simply saying that a lot has been done from a health perspective to protect the children of workers and to protect workers by extension. Now, from the jobs end, I want to say that there had been some issues with getting major projects off, because a major project, and your guest speaker is an engineer, he's right here, and he would tell you that it takes about 1.5 years to 2 years to get a major project off. But I'll list them. One, the hospital. The hospital is on its way. It's going to require between 250 to 300 workers to build it. It is a $60 million investment, and it is already started. So they're doing all of the preliminary work that they need to do. It's almost completed now. So that is going to provide significant work for our workers in the construction field. So encourage those who are in construction to really take advantage of this. I want to say from the perspective of housing, I can clearly say that the housing is going to start in its fullness tomorrow. So you will see that. We have settled the issue with the land and all of those other matters that were to be resolved. So tomorrow the housing program is going to start in earnest. And as I said, I wanted 100 from that program before Christmas or before the year ends. And we are on track to do that. So you're going to see that going forward. We are also going to build a solar farm, which we have also finalized. And that solar farm is to help us to bring down the cost of electricity. We are going to build a desalination plant that is to turn salt water into fresh water, because you know a lot of you have to go through losing water, and we want to go back to 24/7 water. This is a $60 million investment that we are taking from the government. We have the Bastia High School, which we are going to start as well, and an announcement will be made. The Hotel Indigo has started. And if you look at all of these will require a significant number of workers. I want to say something to the union. And as I look at your theme, empowering workers, strategies for success in 2025 and beyond. One of the ways you empower workers is to make sure that jobs are available and workers are given the opportunity to earn well. A lot of these jobs I'm talking about, they pay sometimes twice as much as the step. But a lot of our people prefer to be on the step instead of taking advantage of these much higher paying jobs. So what is happening? People are coming in from overseas, taking up these higher paying jobs. And they are, of course, advancing significantly. Look around in your community, you want to know, so that person come 5 years ago, how they building that big house? And that is what is happening. So we want to say to our workers and, to bring our workers in and tell them, take advantage of this. You don't have to work for minimum wage, because a mason makes much more than minimum wage. They are building a skill. They can establish a better economic empire, so to speak, or foundation. I'm asking you to ask the workers to take advantage. For example, Marriott recently reached out to me, asking me to sanction work permits for them. I told Marriott I cannot do that when we have workers here in St. Kitts and Nevis who need jobs. And so Marriott said, okay, we're going to do a job fair. So they're supposed to do a job fair on the 28th of October. And I hope our people take those jobs, because there are a lot of people coming in who want those jobs. And therefore, our people have to take the opportunities very seriously. Otherwise, we will be left out in our own economy. Let us work. We have to work. We don't have to depend on minimum wage. We can help to build, to establish a good financial architecture. That is what the first national hero wanted. When he took back the land, he said, people must have land. Land is power. When he started Social Security, you pay, and you pay some money into Social Security so you can have something if you get sick, if you get pregnant, you become injured, or when you retire. These are the things that help to establish us as a country and give us the benefits that we see today. So we are asking that as workers we recommit to these long-term strategies in securing ourselves. So I wanted to say that I want workers to empower themselves in 2025 and beyond. I want the union to consider joining to upskill our workers. You hear about the computers and artificial intelligence. Our workers have to become, au fait with these things. Let's help our workers as well so that they can take advantage of these. There are a lot of scholarships. Through the union, they can come and apply for scholarships so that they can increase their knowledge and what is necessary to advance and empower themselves in 2025 and beyond. So I want to say to workers that we'll continue to fight for you. We know it's a challenge, but by any yardstick, you are ahead of the pack. That is what I would say. But sometimes being ahead of the pack may not be enough, so we'll continue to work to go further ahead of the pack. Now, I want to mention one policy measure that would benefit your children, and I don't know if you have applied as yet. In that, we are bringing a program called Aspire. Aspire is a financial education, savings, and investment plan for your children between 5 and 18. It is the only program like that in the whole of the Caribbean, and maybe the whole Western Hemisphere, because it's not in Canada and it's not in Argentina in the South. What we're going to do is that each child will get an account of $1,000. They will be able to invest in local companies in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we are going to create the companies. We are going to create the cable company, the water company, and you have the National Bank. So you'll have 4 major companies: the National Bank, the cable, water, and we intend at some point to do energy as well. And to allow them to buy shares. That is what the first national hero did when he did National Bank. Establish National Bank and allow locals to buy shares so that they can get dividend and build their empire. So when you see a lot of businessmen around here successful and they look like us, it didn't happen by accident. It is because there was a strategy to empower them. Now we want your children to be empowered. They need to know how to save, how to invest. They need to understand the financial world. Because without that understanding and knowledge, our workers will not be able to really get to the next level. We have gotten to a one level, we need to take it to the next level, and we need to equip ourselves, but also, very importantly, we need to equip our children as well. And encourage your children, register for your children, so that they can be a part of it, and they can get the requisite knowledge that will be imparted as a result of this program. And so I want to finally say that we'll continue to work. Let me acknowledge, of course, the Secretary of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, Comrade Diana William Humphreys, who is here with us. The Chair, who is here with us. And it's important that the party is represented. So I want to finally say, congratulations again to the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labour Union on this auspicious occasion. And as this theme says, let us all work together to empower workers and develop the strategies for success in 2025 and beyond. Thank you very much for these moments.
Thank you, Dr. Terence Joe, Honorable Prime Minister, for those brief remarks from the political party, the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. Permit me to just say, it is important that, of course, 3 points that stood out to me as the Prime Minister spoke, in that, one, the reassurance of the labor code, which is important. As a union, we cannot go in to another year of workers, of developing this country, and even sustaining this country without an effective and proper labor code in place. So I want to thank the Prime Minister for reassuring, and then the Acting Labor Commissioner, Mr. Mills, who is also here from the Labor Department, that we as a people, in order to develop ourselves, we need to understand that there's laws that are there for us to protect ourselves and to build this country on. Too many workers in this country are being displaced, are being treated. In fact, I can't even go to the list. But moving on, the update of the stuff that are happening in this country in regards to what our party is doing, our sister party is doing on behalf of workers in this country, which is so important, because everything that was mentioned here by the Prime Minister is for workers. Whether you're coming in with skills, you got skills, non-skills, all workers will be benefited, especially from the upgrade of the health services, which is very important. Our doctor just spoke about how you could take care of your health and treat yourself. And at the end of the day, without a healthy workforce, the country would go nowhere. So that is critically important as well. And finally, let's say that I love this information that is being given out there of the financial literacy as a country. I think it's about time. And if we're going to actually raise up a few wealthy to-do persons in this country over the next 10 years, it starts with the young people. And by teaching financial literacy to them, they would be able to help share with their parents what is going on. Because some of the parents have lost. They hear about $1,000 to be opening an account, and they figure, oh, well, when the money going to share, we want the money. No, this is for your future. You invest in your child and your children's future so that they too can come and be financial literate. At this point, we want to move on, and I will now call on our executive member, Nadine Natter, to bring some fraternal greetings, formal fraternal greetings.
Morning, everyone. Mr. Sidney Bridgewater, President of the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union, Ms. Precious Mills, General Secretary, esteemed Mr. Peter Jenkins, our guest speaker, and distinguished community leader, other respected dignitaries, union leaders, and honored attendees, good morning. With great pleasure, I bring fraternal greetings on behalf of the Caribbean Trade Union Movement and myself. I am honored to address the 85th Annual Conference, continuing our shared commitment to advancing workers' welfare and economic empowerment across the region. Honoring this year's theme, the theme for this year, Empowering Workers, Strategies for Success in 2025 and Beyond, resonates profoundly as we face a rapidly evolving world of work with economic challenges, automation, and shifting job demands. Empowerment is no longer optional. It is essential for sustainable growth. Building a resilient workforce through skills and purpose. Empowerment starts by equipping workers with skills to adapt and grow. Reskilling and upskilling must be continuous, helping workers thrive amidst change. Empowered employees find purpose in their work, motivated by the knowledge that their contributions make a tangible difference. In 2025 and beyond, we must aim to secure jobs and ensure that work becomes meaningful for every worker. Creating inclusive and flexible workplaces. Inclusion is equally important. Workers need environments that foster a sense of belonging, trust, and autonomy. Allowing employees to lead initiatives and solve challenges encourages a more profound sense of ownership and commitment to their roles. Governments and organizations that embrace flexible arrangements and well-being initiatives will be the ones to attract and retain top talent. The role of unions in driving change. Unions like the St. Kitts, Nevis, Trades and Labor Union are pivotal in guiding these transformations. Advocacy for fair policies, better working conditions, and continuous development opportunities ensure that workers remain at the center of the economic landscape. Together, we must work towards new strategies that balance flexibility with security, allowing workers to chart their career paths while feeling supported and protected. As we move forward, let us recommit to fostering environments where every worker is empowered to reach their full potential. This conference serves as a reflection of our past achievements and a blueprint for the future we want to build. One where workers are respected, supported, and equipped to thrive. I commend Mr. Bridgewater's leadership and the entire executive body for their unwavering dedication to workers' rights. I am confident that today's deliberations will inspire actionable strategies to empower the workers of St. Kitts and Nevis well into the future. Thank you, and may this conference be a resounding success. In solidarity, Asokore Beckles, past General Secretary and Assistant General Secretary of Caribbean Congress of Labor. Thank you. I also have another one which I bring best wishes for a successful conference from and make an announcement from the Dean of the Labor Studies Department in Cipriani College, that's in Trinidad and Tobago, of Labor and Cooperative Studies, Mr. Ian Daniel, who is extending to our union the opportunity for 2 one-year online scholarship to our union for the benefit of our membership and executive committee. The course will begin in January 2025. For this, we say thanks to Cipriani for its continued support to our union. Thank you.
Thank you, Comrade Nadine, for those brief fraternal greetings. At this point, I want to call on our
Dear comrades, workers, union members, all, a pleasant morning to you. My name is Shirley Price. I am the General Secretary of the Jamaica Household Workers Union, the chairperson of the Caribbean Domestic Workers Network. And I'm here bringing greetings to you from across the Caribbean. On this momentous occasion, we celebrate with you 85 years of solidarity, struggles, and triumph. Your trade union's enduring legacy is a testament to the power of collective action and the unwavering dedication to your members. Together, we have shaped the course of history, fought for our workers' rights, and improved the lives of countless individuals and families. As we honor the wonderful work you have done over the years, I know you have reaffirmed your commitment to a brighter future. May your unity, your resilience, and determination continue to inspire generations to come as you build an empowered mindset, build strong social network. We stand with you in unity and purpose. In unity and strength, we rise together. From all of us across the Caribbean, we are wishing you a successful conference as you continue to stand up for workers' rights. Don't give up the fight. We are in this together, using our voice as our purpose. Continue to use our voice, because our voice is our power. Use it. Use your voice. It is your power. Use it. Use it. Use it. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Solidarity forever. Have a good day and thank you.
Thank you. That was fraternal greetings from the founder and president of the Jamaican Household Workers Union, chairperson of the Caribbean Domestic Workers Network, Ms. Shirley Price. Thank you again. At this point, it is time to hear from our guest speaker. And to do the honors in introducing our guest speaker, we have our General Secretary, Miss Precious Mills, to introduce our guest speaker.
Good morning to everybody. Thank you for being here. I'm so happy to see your faces. Biography of Mr. R.A. Peter Jenkins, BSc, MSc. Mr. R.A. Peter Jenkins began his academic journey at the Epworth Primary School. He attended the Basseterre High School and the University of the West Indies in Barbados, where he attained his NI Physics and Maths and the use of English. In 1980, he achieved his Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering with honors, and in 1984, his Master's of Science in Construction Engineering and Management at the University of the West Indies in Trinidad. Throughout his professional career, he has served in several capacities, such as Site Engineer, Head of Construction Division, and Managing Director. He has participated in several familiar projects, such as the design and construction of Solid Waste Management Headquarters, the construction of S.L. Horsford Car Showroom, infrastructures, roads at Half Moon Heights, the Development Bank Building, Jakarta Village, and Ross University, just to name a few. Mr. Jenkins has purposed a project manager for many federation-wide private and government projects and has served in the role of valetor. Mr. Jenkins is a community man and sports enthusiast. From his early teenage years, he joined the Social and Education Association, SEA, and served as president. On his return to St. Kitts in 1984, until 2010, he was part of the management group of the Blackburns Sports Club. For 25 years, that is 1984 to 2009, he served as member of the management committee of the SKNFA, 15 of which he served as president. He also held the position of secretary/treasurer of the Leeward Islands Cricket Association from 1992 to 1994. He has served as a member of the board of directors of the Chamber of Industry and Commerce, the Contractors Association, and the Engineers Association. Since 2011 to present, he has served as the credit union sector as a member of the board of directors of First Federal Cooperative Credit Union and the St. Kitts Nevis National Cooperative League Limited. He is also a member of the Bylaws Subcommittee of the Caribbean Confederate of Credit Unions. In 1990, he was part of the formation of the ROC 90, a foundation that continues to assist students of the Bastia High School. In 2011, Mr. Jenkins became the main lecturer of the CFBC Jenkins Limited Real Estate Leadership Program. That program, ladies and gentlemen, is now in its 11th cohort. In welcoming Mr. R.A. Peter Jenkins to the podium.
Thank you, Precious, for that introduction. What you didn't say was that you were, or you are, a graduate of the leadership program. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me this opportunity. First, let me adopt the protocol that was established. However, it pleases me to recognize today the Honorable Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Drew, and his dear wife. Last year you were not here. And so it's a privilege, it's a special occasion, the 85th anniversary, that Mrs. Drew is present at the Union Conference. I also recognize the ambassador to Cuba, from Cuba, the chairperson of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. I also wish to acknowledge the other executive members of the union. Permit me to thank my dear brother and friend and confidant, President Bridgewater, and members of the executive for allowing me this rare privilege of addressing your 85th conference under the theme Empowering Workers, Strategies for Success in 2025 and Beyond. Today, I wish to have a brief look at the Union post-RLB and Paul Southwell. In essence, post-1980. A lot of what I would be reflecting upon can be seen to be in hindsight. However, I hope it would provide inspiration for current and future leaders and members. My main point today is the St. Kitts and Nevis Trades and Labor Union was the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party. The St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union was the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party. In simple language, the union was the party. If it was, and no longer is, then what strategies can be adopted going forward, going beyond 2025, to ensure survival and a second growth curve? But first, let me congratulate the union on this milestone. And to put some context, we can look briefly at the early beginnings. The union was founded in 1940, as was stated earlier, following the legalization of trade unions in St. Kitts and Nevis. It was initially named the St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla Trades and Labor Union and focused on organizing sugar workers Its founding president was Edgar Challenger. Before the union could register with the government, sugar workers undertook a walkout, asking for an increase in pay in view of the increased price of sugar during World War II. The union decided to make the action an official strike and succeeded in obtaining pay increases. But 70 workers lost their jobs. Despite the mixed success of the action, it was seen as cementing the union's leadership role in the country's labor movement. In 1943, the union organized a 10-day strike, which won a pay increase across many sectors. In 1948, the union led a 3-month strike on St. Kitts among sugarcane cutters, officially calling for changes to the method of payment, but also making a number of political demands. The strike was settled by agreement with the Sugar Producers Association. The union was a founding affiliate of the International Federation of Free Trade Unions. Robert Llewellyn Bradshaw succeeded Challenger as president of the union, and he was elected to that body. By this point, the union had sections for sugar estate workers, sugar mill workers, waterfront workers, civil servants, and general workers. Up until the passing of RLB and Paul Southwell, the union was very strong and, in practical terms, guaranteed political power for the masses. We all recall the slogan, "Power to the people." The opposition forces were also conscious of this and sought to demonize the leaders and the union. And so today, I say to you, the union was the party. Following the loss of political power in 1980, the government, led by the People's Action Movement, amplified its strategies and implemented actions to signal their belief that the party would be weakened if the union was disabled. Clearly they understood that the union was the party. The first action they took was to attack the financial base of the union. They abolished the check-off system, which allowed automatic deduction of union dues. This immediately threatened the financial viability of the union due to the reduced revenues. The second action that they took was to attempt to remove the symbol of the headquarters of the movement. The National Bank attempted to seize Massey's house due to a default on a loan. When the bailiff attempted to mark the building, comrades rallied with all forms of sharp instruments and financial resources to save the symbol of the movement. The third action was to target key stalwarts and to make life difficult, almost impossible, for comrades to live in St. Kitts and Nevis. Many comrades died, some migrated, and those that remained faced daily ordeals. One of the comrades whom I felt never recovered from these attacks was Comrade Fidel O'Flaherty. Comrade O'Flaherty was beaten by PAM activists at Newtown at a pre-independence consultation, which resulted in charges being laid against Fidel in court. Fidel was unable to find work to support his family and resorted to burning coals in an attempt to do so. His legal challenges were resolved after many years following the intervention of Comrade Cecil Moonlight Roberts, who was then a member of the People's Action Movement. But Comrade Fidel O'Flaherty was never the same. During this period, our leaders were humiliated and were arrested on Friday afternoons on a regular basis, to ensure that they stayed in jail over the weekend before they could get bail on Monday morning. That was the fate of Union President Lee Moore and Union Treasurer Fitzroy Bryant. The institution of the Union and its leadership and its members were under attack and were fighting for survival. Fourth, when Comrade Bradshaw passed in the late 1970s, the executive of the party mirrored that of the Union. One of the often overlooked facts was that the General Secretary of the Union was the General Secretary of the party. Our dear national hero, Comrade Joseph Nathaniel France, understood that the Union was the party, and despite being an elected representative for Constituency 3 for many years, remained a minister without portfolio. Instead, Comrade France sat at Massey's house on a daily basis dealing with the issues of the workers and the comrades. Members of the movement from both islands had a contact point with the leadership on a daily basis. Workers did not have to worry about who to talk to. Comrade France centered himself at Massey's house and therefore became the contact between the leadership and the comrades, preventing alienation of the leadership from the people. Access was available to the political and union leadership on a daily basis. And perhaps this is something that we should take note of. In hindsight, an earth-shattering event took place in or about 1980-1990, when for the first time in the top leadership of the union and the party was not the same. Dr. Denzel Douglas replaced Comrade Leal Moore as leader of the party, while Comrade Moore remained leader of the union. Over time, the executives of the party and union showed no resemblance. The fifth event. I posit today that there were events external to St. Kitts and Nevis that affected the movement, including the union. One of these events was the Grenada Revolution. Many progressives in the region were hopeful that this revolution would have provided a different development model in the interest of the masses of the Caribbean people. Most would not be aware that Prime Minister Maurice Bishop visited St. Kitts for the OECS Heads of Government Conference in 1983. While here, he met with a number of persons, including Cecil Moonlight Roberts. The comrades in the meeting were able to tell Prime Minister Bishop of the plot against him and of the danger to him personally, the leadership and the revolution. He turned to his security chief who was in the meeting and said, "Comrade, are you aware of this?" The response was, "No, Comrade Prime Minister." It was the same security chief, along with others, that placed Prime Minister Bishop under house arrest. We know the rest of the history. That mammoth failure sent a clear message to the progressives in the region. The big brother to the north will not tolerate an alternative system. Many comrades gave up, some migrated, and others abandoned mass movements. The St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union was impacted. The sixth event. The passing of Comrade Forbes Burnham in 1985 and the demise of the cooperative socialism model in Guyana, I believe, further knocked the wind out of the sail of the progressives in the Caribbean. Many of us were hooked on this model, and Comrade Bradshaw and Comrade Burnham were very close. The loss of Comrade Burnham was felt in St. Kitts and Nevis and in this union. The seventh event. Despite the opposition to independence, the People's Action Movement and NRP took St. Kitts and Nevis into independence and along with boundary changes, allowed the government to maintain political power up to 1995. The eighth event. The split occurred in the People's Action Movement in early 1990. On All Fools' Day, 1992, Deputy Prime Minister Michael Oliver Powell was dismissed by Prime Minister Dr. Kennedy Simmons. Up until today, no reason has been given. Michael Powell was a founding member of the People's Action Movement and was the charismatic member of the core leadership and was the one who was able to communicate with the masses. The split saw Cecil Moonlight Roberts and Michael Powell on one side and Simmons, Herbert, and Mazzacane on the other side. This split provided the opportunity for the re-emergence of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party under the leadership of our young new leader, Dr. Denzel Douglas. The SKNLP was eventually returned to power, political power, in 1995. The ninth event. When the Labour Party took office in 1995, comrades were so abused financially under the weight of 15 years of PAM that attention turned to financial survival and not what could be done to strengthen the union. A number of union members became functionaries of the government, and so their time and attention became split or divided. In addition, the government did not take any significant measure to put the union back on the road to financial viability. It did not reverse any of the legal impediments put in place by PAM and the previous government. The 10th event. Two pillars of the labor movement passed in 1997. Former Treasurer Comrade Bryant and former General Secretary Comrade France. These deaths were followed by Comrade Moore and Comrade Arnold Branch in 2000. Comrade Scratch Ward followed in 2001, St. John Payne in 2002, and Fidel O'Flaherty in 2003. So that by 2002, the core of France, Moore, Bryant, Payne had passed on. These men had served with Bradshaw and understood what labor meant. The passing of Comrade Ward was also significant, as his all-purpose shop on West Independence Square facilitated the daily gathering of comrades and allowed fellowship, support, and discussion of survival and growth strategies. When he passed, the comrades were further scattered. So by 2003, the movement was further weakened. The 11th event. The sugar industry was closed in 2005 under the Labour administration. The country was told we could no longer support the sugar industry. This would further impact the financial viability of the union and the ability to attract and maintain field officers and executives. The increasing impact of the closure of the sugar industry would be felt with each succeeding year. During the succeeding period, 2005 to 2015, when the SKNLP lost power, not much was done to bolster the union. In fact, I suggest the union was in a worse off position in 2015 than it was in 1995. The 12th event. Team Unity took office in 2015. And it was soon after that we lost one of our major strategists and communication specialists in Mudada Byron. The decline of the union continued until the onslaught of COVID-19 pandemic, when many persons ran to the union for assistance to fight the wrath of the government and the employers. The union was privileged to have serving as its president, Comrade Sidney Bridgewater, who remains today a Bratchawite. Am I correct, comrade? Correct. As recent as last week, he recounted one of the many interactions with our revered leader. Bratter admonished him, "Comrade Bridgewater, if in the event you could not reach me, come to my home and throw stones on my roof to wake me so that I can come and speak with you." This was the level of commitment. You can't throw a roof on nobody's house now. Can you do that? You can try, but you might get locked up. The union was also fortunate to attract a young, intelligent, and dedicated comrade in Precious Mills as the General Secretary. Give her a hand, please, because she's making much sacrifice. Hope I don't get thrown out for this next sentence. The Drew administration gained political power in 2025. We are yet to see demonstrated what is the disposition of his government to the union. Thrown out? The current activities of the union in some countries. In the United States, the strike of the unionized dock workers in October this month lasted not more than 2 days. Significant. In Guyana, the teachers' union has been on the picket line for months. Some gains have been made. In the United Kingdom, this is an interesting point. 22% of all workers are unionized in the United Kingdom, 22%. But interestingly, the highest number of those unionized are professionals, approximately 42%. Doctors and nurses have made significant gains as a result of being unionized. In Milwaukee, the USA, the union there operates a Trades and Skills Institute. In Jamaica, Trinidad, and Tobago, and Barbados, the civil service remains strong and provides stability to their members and governments. Against this background, what can I suggest as possible strategies going forward? Firstly, comrade, the executive and members of the union have to appreciate that it has to stand on its own 2 feet. If help comes, that is a bonus, but do not assume that it will. The mindset must be for one of survival when the SKNLP is not in office. Again, the mindset must be for one of survival when our party is not in office. The comrades of the earlier period in the formation of certain institutions assumed Labour would have political power forever. That was not the case. When we lost power and we lost control of those institutions, we suffered. We must seek to establish a financial institution that can look after our people for time immemorial. Where is the next Stanley Prokop? Where is the next Edgar Bridgewater? Where is the next Edmund Lawrence? Who not only had dreams, but were able to make them real. Is the time right for a credit union? Is the time right for a credit union? Yes. What of a cooperative to deal with food security? Non-financial co-op to deal with food security. And as we look at financial independence, I suggest, comrade, that the history of this union should be researched, documented, and published for the world. I am confident if a book is published, some revenue would be received if it is properly marketed. And perhaps, unfortunately, Amazon might be one of those platforms to place it. So on a monthly or bi-monthly basis, you receive revenue from the sale of the book and help to keep the union going. As it relates to the foundation, I believe the union should investigate the establishment of a preschool and a primary school. At this level, you begin to expose children to the principles of what it is to work together as cooperatives, as unions. The churches do it. You can too. The regional body for trade unions and or in collaboration with the world body should be encouraged to sponsor one field officer for 1 year in St. Kitts and Nevis. Get them to sponsor. We have been the backbone of the union business. Get them to invest in St. Kitts and Nevis. Send a field officer here for 1 year, free of cost. Sponsor a field officer, one. You will be surprised to see, based on our culture, what impact that will have. Using diplomacy, agitate to have a similar organization, to have similar organizations meet and discuss common issues. Organizations such as the Teachers Union, Nurses Association, Police Welfare Association, among others. I'm sure that this would impact the organization in a positive way. Develop a strategy or a strategic plan that would result in the government realizing it is in their interest to support you. So don't wait on the government to get the plan. You develop the plan as the union to convince the government that it is in their interest to support you. The Labour spokesman must regain his position as the premier communications outlet in the Federation. Precious, the newspaper must regain its position as #1 communications outlet in the Federation. Big JL Junior Library on Freedom FM has managed to become the #1 radio station, past all others. So with a design, a plan, an implementation of the plan, the Labour spokesman can regain his position. The work of the union must be told by its members, and where possible, the businesses that you have agreements with should be asked to spread the good news. So you have agreements with Howard Server, get them to say to the world how good it is to have an arrangement with you, to encourage others. And finally, I suggest that the land at St. Peter's, if it is still available, should be developed to the benefit of the union members. There is a shortage of housing. You can create housing solutions for only union members. I think that would also attract some new members and would be a lasting legacy for the movement. In conclusion, there are many opportunities and strategies available to the union. I thank you for this opportunity. Never thought that a guy coming out of Tibu Avenue in the ghetto would have this opportunity to address the 85th conference of the St. Kitts Nevis Trades and Labor Union. All the very best in your deliberations today.
I want to thank our guest speaker, Mr. Jenkins, for his presentation. Quite thorough, and you have highlighted the essence of what we are focusing on today in terms of strategies for success. We thank you for your guidance in terms of the presentation that you would have made, which includes history preservation and academic investment. Thank you very much. So it is my honor to give the closing remarks, and this is basically words of gratitude. As I said earlier, I'm really happy to see so many of you gathered here. Today, you are part of the reason why today's conference is a success, and so I say thank you. So in a formal way now, I'll go through so that I don't miss anyone at all. I thank our first Vice President who handled the first part of today's proceedings. I wish to say thank you to Ms. Jutambian Kelly, who, I should mention, is a union member, and she is also contestant #1 in this year's Miss National Carnival Queen pageant. We wish her all the best on her journey to the crown, and we say thank you also for being a union member, a young union member. I say also Thanks also to Reverend Joseph Edmeal. Your continuous support means a lot to us. Thank you for invoking God's presence in the midst. I now say thank you to the union's president, Mr. Sidney Bridgewater, for sharing the vision in terms of what we're saying about empowering workers in 2025 and beyond. I also say thanks to the Ministry of Employment and Labor's representative in the person of the acting Labor Commissioner, Mr. Genevieve Mills, for pledging the ministry's support and the essence of social dialogue in the context of workers' rights and the well-being of the workers. I move on to our youngest executive committee member, Mr. Kevion Huggins, who gave a youth call to action. And when we are talking about empowering workers in 2025 and beyond, this is the type of demographic that we welcome, the young and the vibrant. Of course, we would not forget the foundation and those, of course, who have been in the organization for a long time and who have been basically invested in the organization, in building it. But we welcome a balance of demographics so that when we are talking about moving forward, we can be strategic in terms of impacting the demographics that exist. Dr. Sharon Osborne, thank you very much. She has left, but I wish to say thanks to her for her health and wellness presentation, and it is hoped that everyone has a takeaway from her presentation. It was quite insightful, and so we say thank you to her. In terms of our fraternal greetings, we say thanks to the political leader of the St. Kitts and Nevis Labour Party and the Prime Minister, Dr. Terence Drew, and his dear wife, Diani, for gracing us once again with your presence. Your support means a lot to us. And for our regional colleagues, including our guest speaker from last year, Mr. Asakori Beckles, who is the former General Secretary and former Assistant General Secretary of the Caribbean Congress of Labor. We also say thank you to the Cipriani College of Labor and Cooperative Studies, Mr. Ian Daniel, who has extended that announcement to us in terms of an opportunity to basically take part in an online session that will basically redound to the benefit of our membership. And so you will hear more information about that in short order. We also say thanks to Ms. Shirley Price, who is the president of the Jamaica Household Workers Union and the chairperson of the Caribbean Domestic Workers Network. Now, a major part of what we are focusing on as a union is the empowerment of the domestic workers. These are the workers that every worker means is special, of course, but we have a special focus at this time when it comes to the domestic workers. Those are persons who are employed in the home of others. They might cook, they might clean, they care for the elderly, and sometimes we understand that these workers are not treated fairly and with respect. And we are saying as a union that we are pledging the support, and so we call on all domestic workers to join the union. Our union, of course, is a member of the Caribbean Domestic Workers Network, and we have major plans in place. Some of our members would have actually benefited from training programs thus far, and so there's more to look out for in that respect. Again, I say thank you to everybody who is here in attendance, including all of our members, those from Harrisova. Okay, thank you. And elsewhere, there are some new faces here, and I'm hoping that you've enjoyed the session. Now we're going to break for lunch, and then we will resume after lunch in the business session of the conference. That's where we discuss the union's business. You have to be a member of the union to be part of that session. That's where we're going to discuss plans, the real depth of empowering workers in 2025 and beyond. It starts in the business session later. So thank you very much. Also, the ambassador, the Cuban ambassador, David Rivero, thank you very much for your continued support as well. And so with that said, I just want to thank everybody again for coming, as well as those in the virtual spaces. in spotlighting persons in the audience, I make special mention of our past First Vice President, Ambassador Larry Vaughan in our midst. And so I say thank you, including to the technical team who has provided the virtual streaming. So while we have the space in the room, there are others who have joined us in the virtual space as well. And so we say thank you, and have a good day.